So, Kanye and Trump Hizzle had a conversationism, and my man Kanye is wildin', but he's saying some valid shit, but he's wildin', and it's just like it's hard to listen to him. I feel like this is the only way he can. I don't know. I don't. This shit is weird, yo. I ain't gonna lie to you. This shit is weird. He says some valid shit, and then he says some invalid shit. Kanye says we don't have reparations, but we have the 13th Amendment. Facts. Every other racial group, even people who say they are immigrants and they came here and they worked hard, they came as immigrants after slavery ended. So, I mean, that's a big head start because you didn't start off as slaves and then live here. You came as immigrants, even if you came from poor, destitute conditions. We don't need sentences. We need pardons. We need to talk to people. Yo, if they pardon Larry Hoover, what? Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I think that shit would be crazy. And I find it interesting that he's saying that. I mean, it makes sense, Chicago, but Larry Hoover is a powerful dude, for real. Like, that would be crazy. Fathers lose their jobs. Government incentivizes mothers to have more money for more kids. Mental health institutes removed from urban communities in the 80s, 90s. Yeah, so that's true. Like, Section 8 incentivizes mothers to be single and keep fathers out of the household. And that's been a big separator of colored families, minority families. Yeah, that's valid. He talks about a lot of this Democrat and liberal stuff. And the thing with me personally, I'm only speaking for myself, is like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I think instead of it's important to have a critical thought in every individual thought. Too often, we categorize our thoughts in a box that's prescribed to us. Someone says you're a liberal or a conservative, they're prescribing you a box that they defined. You didn't define that box. They defined it. It's important, in my opinion, to critically view every individual box and look at each box, and don't let someone prescribe that box for you, because you may agree with half of the things in the box and disagree with the other half. So you gotta be able to critically see every notion that's being given to you and not just agree on philosophy or ideology or anything. Like, it's up to you to say what you believe in. You know what I mean? You make your reality. So we use these labels to express ourselves to our peers and our family and our friends, but they don't actually hold 100% true to anyone. So it's important to differentiate. That's just me. But he says a lot of interesting shit. There's a lot of noise. He was definitely sucking the president's dick. On some real oh man, it's very weird. It was very he was definitely sucking mad D. He says he did not have lots of male energy, and the MAGA hat makes Kanye feel like Superman. as a guy that looks up to American industry guys and someone that represents the father that can play catch with his son. I get it. Kanye's branded himself as being a Republican. That's what he's trying to do, and he's just doing it the best way he knows how, and still being true to who he is. Because these are things that I guess he's trying to, you know. In any case, I know that's gonna go above a lot of people's heads, and they're just gonna be like, and look, I'm not saying there's no dick sucking in that, because kind of is, but it's just like, at the same time, that's still kind of Kanye. Like, it's not like it isn't. He has his brand, his entrepreneurial pursuits, you know what I mean, his Yeezys, you know what I mean. He has his shit that he had them $100 white tees. He had the futuristic homeless kit, you know what I mean, for like 2 racks type of shit. Kanye knows what he's doing in the fashion thing, so I mean, he's worked to building that. He's put people like that dude Virgil to being Louis Vuitton's first black designer. So I mean, he's definitely worked to build some credibility. In any case, he said the I-Plane. This was interesting to me. He says he designed the I-Plane 1, a hydrogen-powered airplane, what our president should be flying in. The flyest thing. And he was saying the I-Plane, designed by Apple in America. See, this shit is going over people's heads right here. Because one, he's talking about it being designed by an American innovative company that has a capacity to design something classy, streamlined, and fresh at the same time. And then he's talking about it being hydrogen-powered. Hydrogen is the most abundant substance in this galaxy that we know of. Like, when you go out of space, it's nothing but hydrogen. So hydrogen is very combustible when it's by itself, separated from oxygen. Not how you get it in water, obviously. Hydrogen is powerful enough to power anything. They make bombs out of hydrogen, you know what I mean? So it's like the I-Plane 1, using a substance like hydrogen, which these technologies to power motors and engines by hydrogen exist. It's like he's saying, let's put fossil fuel, oil, natural gas out of source within reason. If the president is using a hydrogen airplane, more than likely their military force, their contracts with Boeing and all these other people are going to change where they want hydrogen developed and based engines. And that's what they're going to make. And if they make that, then, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. Like, so he's trying to change, like, he's saying, like, let's change the source of energy we're using. Because if we change the source of energy we're using, we're going to change how we're living. Because certain people who got money now won't have money then. Because they may not even be able to diversify out of what the fuck they already in. They're in oil and steel or whatever it is, and then you start using hydrogen and nuclear technology, start using other technology. It's like you start displacing old wealthy people. So he's trying to displace old wealthy people. These are people in Trump's party. So peep this. He's saying this, and he's trying to do this all from the perspective of, I'm doing this to empower other people. And if you peep it, if he's displacing people who have old money that are keeping new money from getting in, by displacing them, he's letting new money in. So you just got to make sure you get to that new money. And that would be, I don't know, some hydrogen technology type of thing. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you gotta like sift through the bullshit, because it's like he's saying a lot of nonsense, like, but it's like at the same time, like, you can't listen, you can't come emotional with it, because it's like he's not saying ridiculous shit at every part. Some of it is necessary. It's like he's saying, see, one of the things he came and said is he came to discuss the stop and frisk policy that was being suggested in Chicago. and that can't happen. And he was talking with the police chief, and this is Trump saying that he wants to stop and frisk in Chicago, even though murders have been going down by 20% over the last 2 years or so. Trump said he's open-minded to addressing the violence in Chicago on the list of the Kanye, even though it goes against what he's advocating for, and they mentioned that. So it's like, you can't. What are we arguing about? Like, what? Why are we saying this man is foolish if he's saying stuff that makes sense? Like, he's saying he's telling people stop and frisk isn't necessary. Stop and frisk is gonna turn Chicago up. Y'all understand? Stop and frisk really get Chicago fucked up and speed this world into a whole different world. And turn America into a whole different country, because it's a chain effect. People think it's not gonna come to where they at, but if it starts in one place, it'll happen in another place. If it happens in another place, it's gonna be your place. So you can't let it happen in Chicago, because this means it's gonna happen where you at. A lot of shit he's saying, like I said, you gotta sift through the bullshit. He says blacks and African Americans get caught up on the idea of racism over the idea of industry. He said blacks and African Americans get caught up on the idea of racism over the idea of industry. He didn't say the idea of racism wasn't real. He's saying the idea of industry is greater than the idea of racism in America. That's true. If you meet anybody who's racist, they give a lot more fucks about their money than them being racist, even if they are racist. It's like, people care about industry, people care about money. So you need to stop thinking that everything is about the race. It's about you being broke and them hating you. It's not just both, because if they hated you but you weren't broke, they might think, well, shit, I should at least do business with them, because they want to be rich too, even if they don't like you. So it's like, him saying that makes sense. And then another thing he said that made sense, this is another thing that this nigga Kanye said that made sense. He said, blacks think that like racist conflicts pose a bigger hindrance to growth and success than the concept of struggling to have ownership of businesses, of land, of property. He's saying we think race is a bigger hindrance than ownership is a hindrance. We need to own shit. This is what he's saying. Look, racism exists, but you think not owning your own business and not owning your own property and not owning your own land is less of an issue than you being black to be able to do those things. No, the bigger issue is that you just don't have them. Then comes being black. If you want to prioritize the one that has the bigger effect, it's a bigger deal that you don't own land than you being black, even though it is a hindrance in a society. You know, some shit he says is like ridiculous. He says he was emotional and programmed to think from a victimized perspective when he called out Bush. I mean, he was emotional. And I think liberal people who are categorized as liberal, they overall take a victimized perspective, but like, you know, a victimized perspective, like, I don't think in that situation he was taking a victimized perspective. Here's another fact that Kanye made. He said USA's best export is entertainment and ideas. Manufacture in China is bad for the entertainment industry, for the idea industry, for the creators. You got the products that are being created for the idea or entertainment of America, and then for the world, you got them being made in a different country. You're outsourcing the core competency, the core skill, core ability of your business, the creation, to another country. bring those jobs in the form of manufacturing to America. Now, I mean, if jobs going to China would give people jobs in America and then help people make more money and live a better life, if they knew they could live a better life having more money, then sure. Black people have more ownership, have more money, have more land, have more businesses. Sure. When they ask him if he thinks Trump is racist, Kanye never said that Trump isn't racist. He just said racism can't control him when he's building relationships, and that racism, in his opinion, is an invisible wall. An invisible wall. Like, for him, what he's saying is like, it can't stop him from building, it can't stop him from making connections, and he's going to use connections to empower himself, and therefore he won't be oppressed. And really, when you think about it, that's what I'm saying. Like, what he's saying is that racism exists, but industry and not conquering industry is what allows people to use racism to oppress you. So no matter your starting point, you have to figure out a way to conquer an industry, because if you can conquer an industry, you'll be free of the shackles of racism. I don't believe that to be 100% true, but I see where he's going, because essentially the more people who do it, there could be some compounding effect. But right now we're going off of a world and a system where money is the basis of control. That may not always be true. Money doesn't always have to be the basis of control, because the way the world is going, if they get rid of people's jobs, then everybody will have to have some sort of free money. Some kind of, there's countries that have this, it's called basic income. You understand? So the government is giving you free money just for living, being a citizen. Money's not going to be valued if they could just give it to you. Things are valued based on scarcity. If it's not scarce, it's not valued. You know what I mean? Like, if it's everywhere, how can it be worth? If everyone has access, and it's not limited. So, and the thing is, we have limited supplies. So people trying to say Kanye's crazy, and Kanye's saying some wild shit, but he's saying there's a lot of noise, and you gotta listen objectively and critically think about every individual thought. Don't do this. Like, don't be one of them people. Don't be a herd thinker. Like, I gotta come up with a phrase for it, because like, don't be like a herd bird. You know what I mean? It's like, don't be that person who just listens to what other people say. Don't be a herd bird. Yeah, word. Word. Don't be a herd bird. You know what I mean? He said some shit that was noise. That was definitely, like I said. Yeah, man. More sense. We out here. Deuces.